introduction, Tom. So today, I know we're really talking about containment from a health standpoint. And this graph or this slide is really not supposed to be anything special, but it does represent for every dollar that a plan spends, there's something to be said of where we're trying to focus and tackle. One of those items that we've used to tackle has been reference-based pricing. And I'm not going to stand here today and talk about reference-based pricing because it is a hot topic and there are a lot of experts in the room. However, I did want to shed a light and really to tee up Tom Harrington to kind of discuss his journey on why he has done what he's done and why we've had such a great partnership along that way. And so from that, like we've said, there's a lot of ways to control claims. There's shared clinics, medical tourism, a lot of these things we've actually are doing on the plan currently, but the thing that has driven down the plan cost the most has been provider containment. We've cut out a lot of waste out of P&L, out of Tom's P&L. He'll tell you a little bit later, I think we added about 3 points to the EBITDA at the end of the year after 12 months. We've also seen a decrease over the next 12 months as we've kind of progressed through the plan. And so the title of our message today is really the good employer, the bad carrier, and the ugly hospital is a theme that Tom really came up with from an old Clint Eastwood ordeal, but I'm a millennial. I'm still trying to find out what the movie is. Long story short, a little introduction on Tom, how we met. One of my mentors once told me that you've got to enjoy who you do business with. And as a young person in this industry, I want to have a fruitful career with people that I enjoy working with. And I will say that the thing that has made this plan stick, and with a lot of our employer partners, is having the TPA, like Greg Berth, to give it a little shout out, Cypress, having an employer with the tact and the skillfulness to understand really how to aggressively nurture, I guess, your plan cost, but then also to drill down on really what we need to drill down on, and that's, again, plan waste. And so when Tom and I first met, they were fully insured. They went in the deep end the first year from fully insured, their Pareto captive client, and jumped right in and started doing reference-based pricing, so full network replacement. And when we were talking about this, we were kind of wondering, well, we're comparing networks, right? And they were with Cigna for about 2 years, and then they jumped to United Healthcare. And during those discussions, it kind of came up the fact of, well, let's compare networks, right? Because that's really where we start with everything is what's the best network and what's the best discounts. And so we compared just the value prop of these carriers. We noticed that Cigna was a -1 on Net Promoter Score, and all a Net Promoter Score is basically, would you refer this to a friend or family? United Healthcare, which they moved to, was a 1. They both said they also had the best network and the deepest discounts. But when you actually compare it to, let's say, Paul Morris has a score of 19, and they kill people for a living. So at the end of the day, you've got a tobacco store that has a higher success ratio with would you refer this to a friend or family than the carriers that we use to give our employees for their health. So we both had a realization that things really needed to change. And with our firm in particular, we've got about a couple 10,000 lives or so, maybe a little bit more northern of that, of employees that are on reference-based pricing. And so from that, we're really trying to dig down to find other alternatives and other ways to really hedge against the craziness of balance billing and some of the other issues that we have, which Tom's going to talk about here in a second. But since the stock performance, again, as we're comparing carriers, Andrew Clayton's used this a bunch of times. We see that the value prop of the carriers, they're beholden to their stakeholders. 900% for United Healthcare, and close to 300% for Cigna since 2009. And if we compare it to the hospitals are the same. With public hospitals, they're beholden to their shareholders, not the patients or the employers. And so we've seen this with HCA, which is a very hard market in Nashville, which is where Tennessee Bun is based out of. And so we had to look at the evolution of RBP. Tom's in multiple markets, there's multiple approaches, what does that look like? And so we've kind of narrowed it down to 3 phases of reference-based pricing. Disrupt, negotiate, and partner. So you've got 1.0, 2.0, and then what everybody would love to get to, which is a direct contract or a partnership with a full network agreement. And so when we compare those numbers and we're trying to evaluate where we want to attack and what does that look like, we can definitely see the results are there. When we engaged with Tom and his team, they were spending close to 3.4. We put on a 10% national average for a fully insured plan trend, And as you can see, 2.8 max exposure, limited underwriting claims. So we really didn't have anything to underwrite because they were coming from fully insured to self-funded, and we finished the year at 2.2. The cool thing to look at is the trend. If we annualize this year's spend, they're going to end the year at 1.6. That's fixed costs and all. And when you compare that, year one, it's a 35% reduction, and year two, it's a 27% reduction off of year one. So when you're looking at plan waste or trying to find, again, cash in your P&L that's there, this is definitely a formidable option that I think employers need to consider. And so I just wanted to really kind of lay the stage for Tom. Tom's going to kind of talk about really the plan, what's gone wrong, what's gone right, and really from an employer perspective, where they stand today. So Tom, I'll give it to you.
Thanks, Luke. Thank you to Cypress and Luke and Collier for inviting me here. And Cypress, Tom and Marcia, this is great. I had a lot of fun, except at the gambling table. But I guess you can't control that. So anyway, meeting with you here today, and especially reference-based pricing, reminds me of a story. A story of a famous sea captain. Brave, very brave, and very good at what he does. Sailing the open seas, protecting his country for years and years. And so the sea captain's on the sea, rolling along one day, and his first mate screams, "Captain, Captain, warship on the horizon." So the sea captain screams back at the first mate, "Get me my red shirt." So the first mate doesn't know exactly what that means, but after all, the guy's a famous sea captain, so he runs down to the sea captain's quarters, picks out the red shirt, runs it up to the sea captain, takes his uniform top off, puts the red shirt on, and goes, "Attack!" And boom, 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 the ships battle for a while, and sure enough, this famous sea captain is victorious once again, and nary a man was lost. Later on, when they're hosting their beer steins in their celebration, the first mate asks the sea captain, "What's up with the red shirt? Why did you do that?" So that's a good question, first mate. In case I got hit with enemy fire or anything, pieces of the boat or whatever in the battle, I might bleed on my uniform and it might cause my men to prematurely surrender. Oh, okay, the first mate, well, that makes sense. The guy's for real. So a couple weeks go by, first mate screams, Captain, 20 warships on the horizon. Captain screams back at the first mate, "Get me my brown pants." So I got my brown pants on today. Speaking to 300 people or so is not something I do every day, and certainly reference-based pricing is not something we do every day. But I'm going to divide this into three pieces, kind of why we changed, a little bit about self-insured, our experience with self-insurance, and then, of course, balance bills. Everybody talks about balance bills, and we deal with that. We changed to self-insurance out of frustration for years and years. Our company's been going for 22 years, and for 21 or 20 and a half years, we've been fully insured. And it just seemed like the premiums never went down, and you experienced this. In a good claims year, they go up 6-8% because, of course, medical inflation is 10%, I'm told. So that's why it has to go up. And in a bad year, of course, the natural thing is the insurance agent would say, not Luke or Collier, the local insurance agent would say, "Well, you had a bad claims year. The insurance company's losing their shirt." Now, I've never seen an insurance company representative without a shirt on. And fact of the matter is, the shirts they wear look pretty good. So I doubt if they've ever lost their shirt. And the stock performance kind of bears that out. But frustration got us to the point where we had to do something. I met Luke in the hallway of our business one day, and I usually don't take calls from cold calls. And we're fiercely loyal at the bakery companies about the people that serve us. But Luke caught me with, "You're getting screwed by your insurance company." I said, okay, bud, you got a 20-minute meeting. And the 20-minute meeting turned into an hour meeting, and several months later, and then we switched in November of 2017. So we get cards that say, and we're on reference-based pricing. You know, sometimes, have you ever done anything that in your business that really wasn't very smart, but it turned out pretty well? And it ended up okay in the end? Well, that's kind of what we did with reference-based pricing. Everybody told us, oh, you're crazy for doing all that first year? You must be insane. But we wanted to contain costs. And we wanted a good plan for our associates. So anyway, away we go. We get cards. And the first issue is, of course, there's no network. We're not on a network for hospitals. And hospitals are the most of our issues. Employees, of course, getting employees and understanding the plan ourselves. But the card, the health insurance card, says Cypress on it. Now, that's a wonderful company, and it's a fabulous brand name, but nobody in Nashville knew what Cypress meant. And I'd say, well, the doctor's office would say, this is a pretty card and everything, but this is not an insurance card. And so when I had this, I said, just call the number, just call them. And I'll go sit down here, and then you tell me after you call them. Well, sure enough, it worked out. But I don't know if we got a lot of plant floor labor folks that are intimidated when they go to the doctor, and especially the hospital. And so it's tough. It's tough for them. So we had that issue. We had issues with other questions employees would have. I have to explain what's going on, and I'd have to communicate over and over what's happening to everybody, not only to our management team, but also to the associates. I just have to, communication, I can't emphasize communication with your clients and your company's employees. It's just paramount to understanding what's going on. You can maybe get some help from your broker consultant about how to summarize that so you don't have to go into a big spiel about it, but it's important. Anyway, so the understanding and the communication were key in our switch, and the key to understanding self-insurance. I had one guy I had a meeting with a bunch of employees. We do that every quarter. We call them State of the Business meetings, and the employees call them SOB meetings. Okay, we're at a State of the Business meeting. I go, okay, I got my brown pants on. I ask everybody, how's the health insurance program going? And one guy, among others, I had to dodge a few tomatoes, and one guy says, who's paying the claims? Which is the insurance company? I said, well, we're the insurance company. We're paying them, the company. And they go, oh my God, have you got enough money for this? Yeah, we're good. So you kind of have to get over that a little bit. But anyway, self-insured went okay. Then we get to balance bills. Now, balance bills are a result, in our experience, a result of going to a for-profit hospital, okay? And we have a great big one in Nashville, and we have a little chain in Atlanta where we have a plant. So sometimes our folks don't want to go to a Catholic hospital or a municipal hospital or a university hospital where 140% of Medicare is fine with them. Cypress cuts a check in a week, never hear a thing. Never hear anything from any of the other service providers, but hospitals kind of make us crazy sometimes. And this is like tornadoes. Tornadoes don't happen very often, but when they do, you have to do something. And so balance bills are about 2% of our claims and 2% of our claim numbers. So out of every 100 claims, 2 or maybe 3 hit this balance bill problem. And out of every claim dollar, 2% to 3% are balance bills. So it isn't a big deal, but it does require a little bit of work. And they go to negotiation, and HST does that for us, and they negotiate these things, but the employee gets a balance bill. And we tell them, if that happens, please bring it to HR department. An HR department then is relegated with the responsibility of telling the employee, okay, hon, it's okay, nothing's going to happen, nobody's going to come and get your house. But the employee sees that as I went to the hospital, I racked up a $10,000 bill, you only approved $2,000. What kind of insurance is this? We still owe $8,000. So HR has to carefully explain, okay, we have a different way we pay claims. We don't pay what the hospital charges necessarily. We pay a different amount. It's based on a formula. It's based on Medicare. Well, I'm not old. I'm not on Medicare. Well, okay, we deal with that. But that is the key, is making sure the folks get the balance bill to HR. And so HR can counsel them on how that works. That really makes the program. But when I get in front of them, and I get in front of them every once in a while, all employees, we have 500, about 300 are on the plan, and we get to talking about insurance, I say, okay, we made a decision, the bakery company's management made a decision, and we're asking you to make the same decision. If you want to do something about medical care costs for you and your family, and if we want to do something about medical care costs for our P&L and our profit, we're going to have to do something. We can't sit and do nothing and buy health insurance and win long run. You saw the graph. I mean, medical inflation's 10%. I guess it's still 10%. I mean, we'd be way up there in a few years. So we had to do something. And so I encourage you guys, if you're on reference-based pricing, that's great. You're going to hear some more about it, I think, the next presentation. And then maybe later at the cocktail lounge, catch me early. I may be disoriented after 30 minutes, because I'll be tired having done 20 minutes up here, and I'm about out of time. But I'd encourage you to really, really look at reference-based pricing. We're under Captivus Pareto. I was in a room at Pareto meeting. It's about 50 clients and would-be clients, I think. And the guy handling the meeting asked, who's on reference-based pricing here? And I was the only one that raised my hand. So there aren't a lot of people on it. And so we're kind of, as I was talking earlier, we're kind of like the dog chewing on the elephant. The dog's getting plenty to eat, eating on the elephant's leg, but the elephant's not bothered at all, and that's the huge hospital. The elephant's eating and living and fine. Every once in a while, he'll kick the dog to the side and he'll go head over heels, but most of the time the dog does fine, and I think that's true. My personal opinion, totally personal, is by the time it really gets to be a real issue, we will have some kind of different program for health care cost payment and health care cost delivery. That's my opinion based on what I hear, and I hope that's true. But anyway, that's all I got. I'll see you later. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for having me.